Okay, so what I was telling you all is I will be beginning. Yesterday, we did a, a class where we were talking of explanation. Okay, so in that explanation, we covered the first 20 lines nearly. I will quickly repeat and see that whether you are in touch with it. Supposing you have any problem in between any lines, you can stop me, open your mic, and ask me the description of that line, and I'll explain it to you again. So the lines were from The Mending Walls, and the poet is Robert Frost. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. Now there's a presence of wall which is not liked by the nature, that sends the frozen ground swell under it. Just because the nature doesn't like the wall, please switch off your mic. Just because the nature doesn't like the presence of a wall, so it swells up the ground in the winters with the frozen water inside the soil. The water freezes and expands, and thus it swells the ground. It breaks up the soil of the ground and spills the upper boulders in the sun. And it is the presence of the boulders, the upper soil is exposed to the sunlight and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. Now, these gaps are so vast that two people can go hand in hand and cross the wall across. The work of hunters is another thing. Now, they are talking of the work which the hunters take up. Even hunters play a major role in breaking up these walls, and how I come, I have come after them and made repairs. So the poet is saying it is after the work of the hunters that he has many a times gone there back and repaired the walls. The walls have been found broken after the hunters had gone. So poet himself has number of times repaired those walls after the hunters have invaded and gone. Where they have left not one stone on a stone. The hunters, while hunting, they did not take care of the presence of a wall, and they could even turn one stone another and so on. But they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dog. And why the hunters have been removing these stones one after the other? Well, because they want to hunt the rabbit, and just to stop the yelping dogs who are the hunter dogs, they are sniffing the rabbits. So they are in a way looking for the rabbits in the burrows deep inside the walls, and thus in this way they are dismantling the wall. The gaps I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made. Now he's saying that the gaps which are made on the walls, no one has actually seen how they were made and have never been heard that who is responsible for making these gaps in the walls. Why have these stones, which were so properly repaired by the writer and his neighbor again and again, were very frequently found broken? So the poet has no idea who has done it. But at spring mending time, we find them there. He's complaining that during the springtime, when it is when the weather is quite suitable and okay, he has number of times find these holes in the walls, and he has done the mending in the springtime. Why in the springtime? Because in winters it is too frozen, and in summers it is too hot. So spring being a favorable climate, he has come out of his house and mended the wall many a time. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill. Now he's saying many a times he has informed his neighbor who lives beyond the other side of the hill. And on a day we meet to walk the line. And then one day is decided between him and the neighbor to come along, and they walk across the line wall. That means on one side the neighbor walks along and the other side the poet, and set the wall between us once again. And as they are moving all along the wall, they are picking up stones from either side which have fallen, and they are mending the wall again and again, both of them together. Both of them means poet and the neighbor. We keep the wall between us as we go. And as they are going along, they are talking, everything is not common. But then they make sure that while they are walking along, the wall lies between them. Now, here the wall between them is also the wall, not just not just presence of a wall, but also a symbolic wall. That means the distance, the heart distance which has been created among each other. To each the boulders that have fallen to each. Now, each both the neighbor and the poet is picking up and keeping the boulders back, keeping the stones back at the places from whichever side they had fallen. I just stop here for a minute. I just want to know who's the one who has opened the mic. Who's such an Manal? Behave yourself. All this throughout, you had kept your mic open. Manal, please do not touch the mic. Do not touch the mic. And your name, it comes as soon as I'm mentioning. Everything is getting recorded, so you will be in trouble. Throughout, I've been telling you not to open the mic. Okay. To each the boulders that have fallen to each. Now each one is each both the neighbor and the and the poet is picking up the stones which had fallen on each side, and they're keeping it again. And some are loaves and some so nearly balls. Now some are in a kind of a loaf of a bread, just as the stones are the flat rectangular pieces as a loaf of a bread. So some are easily kept because they are in a rectangular shape, but some are like in a shape of a ball which rolls down back. So it is very difficult to keep those rolling round stones back and mend the wall. We have to use a spell to make them balance. Now the poet has to make great effort in order to keep it balanced. So this is what they are telling. It's kind of a spell. They are trying to, oh God, Girena. They are saying all this so that while they are balancing, it shouldn't fall. Oh, please. Like all these words they use as a spell, as if they want to balance it and keep it there. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. Now he's saying, till we turn our backs, at least till that time, both the neighbor and the poet wishes that the stones should remain there. Beware our fingers rough with handling. Now, this is the line where we begin from. So, they are saying just by regularly handling these stones, that means quite often they come and mend the wall. So, their hands have turned rough because of the roughness of the stone and handling them quite regularly. Their hands have become very rough. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game, one on a side. So they are saying now mending the wall has turned out to be one of their outdoor games. Like quite often they are doing it and quite willingly they are doing it. They enjoy this process of maintaining a wall between them. So it appears as if it is a kind of a game on both the sides, one on the neighbor's side and the other the poet. It comes to little more there where it is. I will repeat, sorry. It comes to little more. There where it is, we do not need the wall. But here in these two lines, the poet specifically says he, the presence of a wall is there where it is not at all needed also. And why it is not needed? He is all pine and I am apple orchard. So now he's saying that my neighbor has all the pine trees in his area, whereas in my side of the wall, I have an apple orchard. So now these trees are distinct. They are quite different from each other. They can be easily demarcated also. Okay, the area which is the pine tree is my neighbor's, and the area where we have apple trees, it's the poet's area. But yet, in spite of these differences in the trees, they have created a wall. So here the writer is saying that we have already different plantations which can tell us कि, okay, this area is mine and the other area is the neighbors. Yet they had to create a wall. So that is why he's saying it comes to a little more there where it is we do not need the wall. So they know that the wall is not needed. They can easily demarcate even without having a wall. Yet a wall. This shows that the differences between people are much stronger than the presence of wall. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his spines. Now he's saying that it is very obvious that the trees don't move from one place to another, that they will go and occupy the neighbor's fence. And so will the pine trees. They will also not move and occupy the orchard area, apple orchard area. So it is very distinctive that the trees will not move and go across the wall. So what do these walls are actually? They are actually for men because the men do not trust each other. That is why the presence of a wall is there because the apple trees will not cross and neither the pine trees could be eaten and the apple trees will not go across that side and eat the cones which are in the pine trees. I tell him, and the writer quite often tells this to the neighbor also. But the neighbor very coolly replies, he says that only good fences make good neighbors. So now the poet has many number of times told the neighbor that the wall is not needed. But then it is the neighbor who very calmly answers back that you know what, good fences make good neighbors. What does that mean? That means presence of a fence will not at least put us in quarrel and we will not fight for small little things. So let this wall be there and we might be friends for more time. So this is what the poem is all about. Now we move further. Spring is the spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Then I is saying that springtime is the time when I really turn naughty, and I put this notion in his head that why do they make good neighbors, isn't it? Where there are cows, but here there are no cows. So he's saying also in the springtime when he comes to mending and when he calls out his neighbor telling him that the wall is broken again, it is the mischief that he plays and he wonders, is it really needed? Is the wall really needed? Why? Because where there are cows, maybe the animals could graze, but then there are no cows here also. There is no cattle to graze and spoil the fields. So why are we keeping these walls? These walls are as if we are animals. Me and the neighbor do not trust each other, and because of this distrust, we have walls. And this simply you can see in your houses also. When we build a house, before building a house, we draw a boundary. Now, those boundaries are indicating that we go for privacy, we go for it's not that every time we'll jump out of the boundary and go to our neighbor, but then we have it in our houses even right now. So, these are the basic tendencies a human being follows. So, in the beginning of the poem, as it was told, that nature never goes for the presence of a wall. It is not the nature who has created these differences, but the man has. And if we talk of the country, you must have seen that each country has its own territory, and presently we have a line of conflict also. If you see the recent examples, you'll see that India and China are fighting for these boundaries. So, based in India and Pakistan, they have issues regarding the boundaries. So, these walls have always been a main source of being present, not in this just a wall form, but also in the minds and hearts of people. So, we stop here for today and I stop this sharing and we'll move further maybe in the next class. I repeat again that whatever explanation I have done, I would like you all to go through it. Supposing you come across any problem, please let